that I don't forget. And can you see in the top left corner like some kind of little icon with a red dot or something that maybe says it's recording?
Mm-hmm.
I can see it. I'm not sure if you can see it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
like
that's kind of,
on the
that's
drop-down
kind of,
bar, it has a little icon.
yeah, okay, that's what we're looking for. So if you ever notice that's not on, please tell me. Does anyone have any questions about anything before we get started?
No.
If you don't ask questions, I have to give you a lecture. You just want a lecture.
I do have a question, a quick question.
Okay.
This is my first like class that has anything to do with math since I took like chemistry in college, but like I never took physics in high school. Would you recommend like doing anything to refresh on like math stuff, or is it's mostly like algebra based? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
There's a little bit of trigonometry, which I will introduce and teach you, because everyone who is in this class will not have had trigonometry. So we don't need to know trig, but there's like a little tiny bit of trig that we need to know, which I will teach you. But if you've had trig before and you know about sines, cosines, and tangents, if you've ever heard of those, that's a good thing to review because we'll need that in like a week and a half. Other than that, yeah, it's algebra. This is if your algebra skills are rusty, beefing up on your algebra will help. But this class is kind of algebra boot camp already. So yeah, if it's been a while for you since you've had math, I would recommend just cracking out some algebra, solving systems of equations, kind of two equations with two unknowns, and also quadratic formulas. Those would be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And your name is Haley?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
great. All right. Does anyone else have a question before we start? All right. So again, if you can get your webcams on, it's better to get that figured out now rather than having trouble on the exam. Although it does help me if I see people nodding or kind of like frowning or looking like what I'm saying isn't making sense. So today is just an introduction to college physics. I'm the professor, Jonathan Morris. You can call me Jonathan or Dr. Morris. I prefer Jonathan. I put a little video sort of introduction to who I am online. You can watch that if you want. You don't have to watch it. There's also a video on Blackboard, which hopefully you've seen, that's sort of a introduction to Blackboard. I'm assuming most of you who are here found that and found your way to this class, but that will also give you some information about where to find assignments and exams and things. So that's a good thing to refer to and make sure, especially if you haven't used Blackboard before, make sure you're familiar with how to find everything. So today I'm going to do an introduction, just go over the syllabus and the schedule and what the class is going to look like, what you can expect. And then we will talk a little bit about physics, what it is, but we won't get to really kind of solving problems and doing equations and things until tomorrow. So today is very much just introductory. However, if you are not live for this lecture, I would still recommend that you watch it and make sure you get all the information. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up the syllabus. Raise your hand if you saw the syllabus already on Blackboard. So it looks like virtually everybody raised their hand. That's good. So just give me a second to bring up the syllabus. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Can you see the syllabus on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I apologize. This is honestly, this is my least favorite part of teaching. Maybe grading exams is my least favorite. But this is my least favorite, like interactive part of teaching, is going over the syllabus and all the rules for the class. And I have to, I have basically, I have to spend today convincing you that I'm really mean and tough, so you'll follow the rules. And then I have, in this case, only about 7.5 weeks to convince you that I'm really nice and awesome, so you give me good evaluation. So I have to walk a really fine line today. And this is not, I'm not a typical, I don't typically teach online classes, so some of this information, it's not really relevant. So that first line here, that's the class. I have two sections. The one that we're logged into right now is section 602, but people from section 230 also are invited to log in. So we may have people from two classes here. The syllabi are identical except for that. That's me, Jonathan, Dr. Morris. This is my email address if you need to contact me. Make sure if you type it rather than copy and paste or emailing me through Blackboard that you put two M's in there, so JM Morris. And also please email me from your STLCC email, because I can't really give you information about your grades or any kind of anything from a non-STLCC email for legal reasons. My office is my lovely basement, so welcome to my basement. My phone number, I'm not on campus, so don't call my number that's listed at STLCC because I won't get that. Email, if you send me email, I will most likely see it right away. So email is the best way to communicate with me. There are books for this class, and hopefully you've had a chance to buy them if you got the announcement that I sent out maybe a week ago, or if you saw them on the web page for the bookstore. But let me just show them to you. I chose these books because they're cheap. That's basically it. They're not great, but the books that are $300 also are not great. So I figured a $25 book that's not great is better than a $250 book that's not great. So this is called the Shams College Physics. I have the 11th edition. The 12th edition is now the current edition. The problem numbers are identical through the entire thing. So if you can find an 11th edition, if you don't have your book yet and get this, you can probably get it for like $3 or something. If you have to buy the new one, the 12th edition, it's like 20 or somewhere in that range. And what this is, it's basically newsprint. It's not a textbook, it's a problem book. It's just full of worked problems and examples. And we have a second problem book here that's basically the same company and it's similar, but it has a different selection of problems. And the first book, neither book had enough of the right stuff that I'm looking for. So this is similar. It's in the same price range. It is, again, a newsprint. This one has problems also geared toward a calc-based physics. So I wouldn't, a lot of the problems in here you shouldn't be able to do. But these are used for the homework for the class, and really they're your best friend to help you practice and learn how to do physics. And there is a third book that is a recommended textbook called College Physics. There's a link on the syllabus. It is a free online PDF. You can buy a print copy too if you like a print book. I actually like a print book. So the print copies, I think they're about $50, but I'm sure there are used ones for like $10 floating around on Amazon or eBay. So those are the books, and I would advise that at least the first two, which are the required books, that you have those with you during the lecture, because I will occasionally do problems from the books, and it's not easy for me to show you the problem while I'm working. So if you can have the book open and looking at the problem, that will be beneficial. So we also have here learning outcomes, and I'll kind of let you read through those on your own if you haven't, and if you want to. But basically, this is, I'm not going to lie, I just copied and pasted this from our course catalog because they told me I had to do that. But this lists all the topics that we typically cover in the first semester of college physics. And really the benefit of having this in the syllabus is when you're transferring your course back to your, if you're transferring it to another institution, they can see that we cover the same things they cover. And essentially, this class is the same at every institution everywhere. If it's an algebra basics class, it's going to cover this stuff. As far as attendance goes, just the way this works is I will be doing live lectures Monday through Thursday at 11. I don't know what the end time will be. It will not go later than 1. Sometimes it will end sooner, depending on if I get through the material that I need to cover. So I mean, you can basically plan on the lectures going from around 11 to maybe 12:45 or 1 at the latest. And those are Monday through Thursday. Then on Fridays we have at 11 exams, and we'll come up to exams later on the syllabus. So you have to attend the lecture. I think it is beneficial if you can attend the lecture. You can ask questions. I'm hoping that you guys can just get comfortable asking questions. I really, in my face-to-face classes, I want people asking questions all the time. And I hope for that on the online format as well. And it will help you understand things better, and it will help me know if I'm being clear, and help me become more clear. So I hope you can attend, but if you cannot attend, the lectures will appear for section 602. They will appear in Collaborate. You can see where on the Intro to Blackboard video that I did, but they'll appear there, and they typically take maybe a half hour to process, something like that, depending on the length. So, sometime in the afternoon after the lecture, it will appear. And for section 230, I have to wait for it to appear and Collaborate, and then I have to download it, and then I have to re-upload it to your section. So it will take a little bit longer for that section to see them. Okay, any questions so far? All right. Oops. Okay, so for the exams, you do need to be logged on. You do need to have your webcam, and you do need to have it working. You cannot get credit for the exam unless you're logged in. We'll be using this thing called this lockdown browser, which basically tries to keep you from cheating in any way by locking your computer out. But in addition, you have to have a webcam showing your workspace and show that you don't have another computer or your phone or notes or any of that stuff out. And I haven't used that software before, but I hear that it's pretty hardcore, and it like tracks your eye movements and all this stuff. No idea. But anyway, that's going to be necessary for the exam. So make sure you have your webcam working by then. And if you can't get it to work today and want to stick around after class, I can try to help you. Or I mean, I probably can't help that much, but I can direct you to who can help you. So exams, the way the exams work, our first 2 exams are on 1 chapter each. And after that, they're typically 2 chapters, although I think there's one on 3 chapters. We have a lot of exams, Okay, so there I think are 8 exams, and you get to miss one exam, kind of no questions asked. It could be because you're sick, it could be because it's your birthday, it could be because you don't know that material very well and you have a good grade and you don't want to mess it up, you know, whatever. It's you don't have to tell me you're missing or why you're missing, but you can miss one and only one. So I would, in this format, I would recommend you don't miss one unless it's an absolute emergency, because if you have technical difficulties and have to miss one because of that, that will be your, you know, that will be your missed exam. So the exams, the way they work for the one chapter exams, there will be 6 questions on it, 6 problems, and you will pick 5 of them to complete. So you get to, most students will do all 6 and then cross one out. So you give me your best 5 problems, and I'll go over this again when we're getting ready to take that exam. But that's how it works, and it's out of 50 points, so each problem is 10 points. The multi-chapter exams will have 10 problems, and you choose 8 of them, so you get to cross out 2. If you leave 2 blank, that counts as crossing out. If you did all of them, you really do need to cross out 2. And the instructions of the exam will make it clear, but if you didn't cross out 2, then I just grade the first 5 or the first 8, depending which contest. Someone asked a question. Blair says, just to be clear, we wouldn't have to make up the one exam we can miss if we would ever miss an exam. That's correct. That is correct. You might just decide, you know what, I don't care about thermodynamics, and so I'm not going to take the test on thermodynamics. And you know, the rest of your life, you're going to be thinking in the back of your mind, boy, I really wish I learned about thermodynamics. But no, you don't have to take that. Now, of course, that material will be, sure, you're welcome. The material will be on the final still, so you kind of need to know it a little bit. Grace, you have your hand raised.
So if we miss an exam, if we take all of them, do you just drop our lowest score and count that as a missed one?
No, this is how I do it. And I do not, Sarah or Sarah, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, asked sort of a similar question. If you take them all, do you drop the lowest grade? So that's kind of what this this little thing, no, what there's, so there's a section on missed grades later on that we'll get to, but I'll go ahead and mention it now. If you miss an exam, so there's a slight, like a minor penalty to missing. So it's better not to miss one. If you miss one, this is what I do. I take all of the other exams. So we have 8 exams. If you miss one, you took 7 exams. I average at the end of the semester those 7 exams, and I reduce that average by 5% and give you that reduced score for your missed exam. So let's say you averaged 90% on all of your other exams, then you still have a 90% average on those exams, but for the one you missed, I give you an 85%. And so now your average, instead of being a 90, winds up being like an 89.2 or something. It barely affects your grade at all. Additionally, I do offer extra credit through the semester. Some of you have already done the extra credit, and the first extra credit, which is to get your introduce yourself video in on time. And those are worth 5 points each. If you have missed one exam, you only get half points for all of your extra credit. So I would say you shouldn't miss an exam just because you don't like you don't like the sound of the word thermodynamics, but you should miss an exam if you have a 90% average and you think you're going to fail a certain exam, or maybe you had to work, you know, double shifts all weekend, or I guess exams are Friday. So, you know, I don't know, whatever. If something comes up and you feel you're not going to perform well, that's a perfectly valid reason to miss, and it's better to miss one and have a slight sort of penalty than to get a bad grade. But I do not just drop the lowest grade. So, you know, you should have an idea going into the test. If you think you're not going to do well, that might be the one you want to miss. Okay, any other questions about that? And that's going to come up again here on the syllabus in a little while. Okay, so again, I think I covered, make sure you can log in. The missing one exam does not count the final. You cannot miss the final. Labs. So the lab exercises, first of all, I'm going to play my hand and say I'm a theoretical physicist, and so I'm not an experimental physicist. The labs are not the part of class that I focus on, even in the face-to-face class where we actually meet in the lab and can do, you know, hands-on activities. So what I have arranged for the labs are these virtual simulations of labs. And we'll see the first one fairly soon, but there will be in the course content, there's a lab folder, and when it's time for the lab, there will be a document that appears, just a Word document with questions for you to answer. So you'll go into the simulation, and I'll give a demo of this before we ever do a lab. But you'll go into the simulation, and it will ask you to, you know, change this weight to this much, or find out how much weight you need to make a balance, or this or that, okay, depending on what the lab is talking about. So it is a way for you to do exploration. You just won't actually have physical things. And I think they're okay. They're not great. They are easy. I will say that. So I fully expect all students to get 100% on labs. If you make mistakes in labs, I will take points off, but I give you sort of infinite number of corrections on labs. So if you make some mistakes in the labs, I will take off points and give you feedback, and then you'll just fix your mistakes and get the points back. Okay, so that's how the labs will work. Okay, so we have due dates, and I'll be showing you the schedule later. So labs are due at 10 a.m. on the due dates, and I guess I did 10 instead of 11 because I don't want you to sort of be working up to the crunch and miss the beginning of class because, you know, running late on your lab. Okay, points for grading. So there's almost 1,000 points in the class. The exams, those 8 exams, wind up being 580 points altogether. Extra credit assignments are typically 5 points. So, you know, you can think of an extra credit as, you know, boosting your exam grades in a way. If you did 1 extra credit and you got a 45 out of 50 on the first test, that 1 extra credit will make that 45 out of 50 into a 50 out of 50. Then there's a final exam. Final exam is worth 200 points. It will have 12 problems, and you choose 10, and those 10 problems, you know, together are worth 200 points. Then the labs add up to 200 points as well. There are 10 of them. You can miss 1 lab with no penalty. So, sorry, there are 11 labs, but you only have to turn in 10. You do not get extra points for turning in all 11. Each lab is worth 20 points, so that adds up to 200. Okay, any questions about the grading? Okay, homework. So there's a lot of homework for this class that you should look at as practice homework. The homework is really preparation for the exams. If you don't do the homework, you have an almost 100% chance of getting an F in this class, okay? Unless you already know all about physics, in which case that's fine with me if you just take the tests and ace them, and that's okay. You need to do the homework. The homework in these books is provided, and there are solutions right there underneath the homework. In fact, I would probably recommend when you're doing homework that you cover up the solutions so that you can just work on the problem without kind of seeing the answer too soon. I'll talk more about homework later when we get to the homework sheet. So Sarah, is it Sarah or Sarah? I don't know if you have a microphone. I can't hear you. Anyway, Sarah. Okay, Sarah asks, on our problems, do we get partial credit for the problems or are they multiple choice? They are mostly partial credit. There are typically maybe 1 or 2 multiple choice problems. I wouldn't pick a multiple choice problem, honestly, if I were you. I would probably never pick one because if you get it wrong, you get 0. And you feel like you're going to get 10 points if you get it right, but odds are you might get it wrong and get 0. It's not worth the risk for me. But some students, the multiple choice are typically conceptual questions. So we'll be doing conceptual questions in class. So you'll get a sense what those are going to look like as we lecture. But for the 8 or 9 problems that are not multiple choice, yes, there's lots of partial credit. So you should show as much work as possible, even if you don't know how to find the final answer, or you get a final answer that's crazy, it's wrong. Write down, I know this is crazy and it's wrong, but I mean, you might only lose 1 point. Maybe all your work is right, but your calculator, syntax wasn't right and you got this crazy answer. So yes, you get partial credit. Okay, so the homework, you need to do it. I don't give you any points for that, but if you don't do it, you're going to fail the class. I do try to give you an incentive there in red and italicized. It says 60% of exam points will come directly from homework. So that means if you did all the homework, you already saw half of the test. But the other half is going to be similar to homework. So it's not as if you do the homework and you saw half of the test and then I'm going to try to trick you and give you crazy things that you've never seen anything like it in your life. I don't think I've ever had one student tell me, and I've been teaching a long time, I don't think I've ever had one student tell me that the exam was not like anything they'd ever seen before. I've had classes like that and I've heard horror stories. My class is not one of those classes. So what you see in the lecture and what you do in the homework, you're going to see on the test. Okay. Okay, office hours. I don't have scheduled office hours. I tried that during the spring pandemic with the online version, and it just seemed that what was much more effective, because I'm basically stuck at home all the time anyway and bored, was just to schedule collaborate sessions with me and whenever you want. You can stick around after class and get help. Send me an email, schedule, tell me you need help and I will meet you online pretty much anytime. I really, I don't have anything going on. So I would be sad about that, except I feel like I'm not supposed to have anything going on right now. So so just let me know if you need help and I will meet you and collaborate. And we can meet in groups if you have a group of friends taking the class and want to meet as a group. We can do that. Additionally, you can log in and go to the Collaborate classroom when I'm not here and meet with other students and talk and work if you want to. There is a whiteboard that you can use to sort of do stuff. Okay, so what's next? Yeah. Okay, so the grading scale for this class is what I think is fairly standard scale. You need a 90% or above to get an A, 80 up to 89.9999, I guess, gives you a B and so forth. I stick to that pretty well, so that you will have a good feeling of your number of points at the end of the semester, and you can compute a percentage and know what your grade will be. Okay, so missed grades. I kind of went over this already, but what else is in here? So this is kind of new for the online version. If you are logged out when you're taking the test or you leave webcam, you're going to start losing percentage points on the tests. It's 1% per minute, and if you're gone from the webcam or logged out more than 5 minutes, then that's going to just count as a missed exam. I'm sorry, I hate to do that, but that's really what I have to do in order to make sure everyone is not cheating and doing their own work. And so again, if you have spotty internet connection and stuff, don't miss an exam because it was your birthday last night and you're so hungover. Just take all the tests, because you never know when technical difficulties could happen and you have those problems. And that's why I let you just miss an exam. Okay, and then also, as I said, there are 11 labs assigned, but I only compute the grade out of your best 10 lab reports. Other few details, last but not least, I guess, if there are any students with special academic needs or any other concerns, talk to me sooner rather than later. If you have special accommodations that you need, please let me know that right away, especially before the first assessment. You should have paperwork from our access office, but if you don't have that, I will help you get that. Especially those of you coming from other institutions, you have to go through them first. And I will help you make contact and get that going so that, so that whatever you need, so I can help you with whatever you need. On exams, you cannot use a graphing calculator or your phone or any other tablet or anything like that. You just need a basic scientific calculator. I'm going to ask you to show your calculator to the camera before you start the exam. And really, the reason for that, I know a lot of you guys have nice graphing calculators and you're used to them, and they're convenient, but they also allow you to store information. And because I'm giving you homework problems on the exams, I don't want you wasting time trying to store notes in your calculator. It won't help you. It would not help you. I give you all of the equations and constants and conversion factors, and you don't have to memorize how many centimeters to an inch or what the formula for the force of gravity is or any of that stuff. That will all be provided to you. If anything is missing from the equation sheet, maybe your favorite equation isn't there, you can just ask me. I will be live when you're taking the test. So I'm not in any way testing you on memorization. This is not a memorization kind of class. So if you feel like you need that calculator to store information, you do not need it for that purpose. You just need a basic scientific calculator, and it needs to be able to do square roots and trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent. And you can get those at the Dollar Tree for $1, but those are really crappy. I wouldn't recommend one of those. You can probably get at Target, or Amazon, for like $10 a decent scientific calculator. And that's what you need for the exam. Finally, our non-discrimination statement is a little bit cut off here onto the next page. But our institution is really committed to equality and not discriminating in any of these bases. But I put this statement in here so that you have a contact person if you feel like you're seeing or experiencing any discrimination. This might be more relevant in a face-to-face class, but I'm not sure. But Dr. Franklin Taylor, he was formerly our Vice President of Student Affairs, and his title is changed to Dean of Student Development and Enrollment Management Student Affairs. That's his office phone number and his email. I would expect email is probably a better contact, but I'll tell you, I've personally gone to him a few times with needing help with some or other, and he's extremely nice, he's friendly, he's very responsive, and if you're having some trouble you know, please talk to me, but if it's something you don't want to talk to me about, he would be another person that you could contact. Okay, so that's the rules of the class. I haven't yet gone over the schedule, but are there any questions from anyone about the rules? And again, I apologize. I know this is extremely boring, you know, but I have to go over these things. Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this syllabus, and I'm gonna do a quick screen share so that you can see just like how to find things in Blackboard in case you haven't found things. So hopefully you see my screen. Let me check that out. Yeah, okay. So over on the left, this is how you navigate. And there's a little link that says syllabus and schedule. That's where I am now. And we just went over the syllabus, and then there is also the schedule. So I'll go over the schedule in a minute, but I want to draw your eye to course content. When we click course content, this is where everything else is going to be. This is the schedule for homework specifically. Okay, so I have a schedule for the class, but then a separate homework, a separate schedule just for homework. Then there's the first assignment, the introduce yourself video. Several people have done that. That's great. It definitely helps me. Then there's a folder for exams, a folder for labs, a folder for extra credit, and a folder for lecture notes. So the lecture notes today, I'm not sure we'll really have much in the way of lecture notes, but the lecture notes will be posted in PDF form here, you know, sometime in the day following the lecture. Extra credit assignments will appear in the extra credit folder. Labs will appear in the labs folder, and exams will appear in the exams folder. So that's basically where you're going to find everything that you need other than the original syllabus and schedule. Now, going back to the schedule for the class. So this, right now, I generally am able to keep pretty well on schedule. That's the reason I make schedules. If I don't make a schedule, I don't keep on schedule. But if I make one, I keep to it. But if for some reason I need to make a change, then the title of this is going to change. It's going to say revised on whatever date. So if you ever look on the here and you see the schedule has not been changed, then we're on schedule. And if it's been changed, I will change it and also send an announcement through Blackboard to see the revised schedule. And it will say revised on this date. So let's take a look at the schedule. And I'm going to, well, I'll keep the whole, no, I'm going to get rid of screen share and just show you that document. It will be bigger. Okay, so today, June 8th, we have the introduction. Over on the right column, these are the labs, and these are the days when the labs are due. So the labs are due at 10 a.m. and some of the labs, not all of them, but some of them are sort of designed so that they introduce you to a concept by letting you explore that concept a little bit before we start learning the concept. So you don't have to be like a master of vectors to do the vector lab. The vector lab is going to ask you questions and give you activities to do, and it's going to help you sort of see what vectors are before we learn what vectors are exactly. Okay, so so they're very much, they are about exploration, not about mastery. On the schedule, as I said, we have our first two exam on chapter 2 and chapter 3. So these chapters, we have 3 textbooks. Their chapters are all different. So these chapters refer to the PDF textbook that is the optional free download. That is a real honest to goodness textbook with words and pictures and, you know, lots of, if you are the type of student who likes to learn from textbooks, then that's, that will be a good resource for you. And I had to make a choice when I labeled the names of our exams. So that exam is over what's called Chapter 2 in that book, which is called Kinematics. It's kinematics, motion in one dimension. So we're going to spend 3 days after today working on kinematics, and on the 4th day we have a test. Now this is really tough, okay? Because I know already from some of your introductions, a lot of you are working 2 jobs, working a lot, and somehow, for some reason, you made the mistake of signing up for a summer physics class. There was a moment when that seemed like a good idea. You thought, hey, I'll get this out of the way in the summer, and you didn't think, oh my God, how am I going to do physics at just a normal pace? It's going to be hard. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's going to be a lot of work. I think I can do a good job of explaining everything. I think the lectures will be useful, but it's going to come down to, do you have time outside of class, sort of with the homework, work your way through it, and the pace is incredibly fast. I wouldn't want to do it. I honestly, I wouldn't. But you guys need to do it, right? That's what you have to do. So you need to do it. You'll do it. But it's going to be tough. You're going to want to get started working on the homework, and maybe work ahead on the homework if you can, as much as possible, particularly if you have very tight work schedules that you have to work around. So we're going to have that first exam on Friday, and because of how intensive this class is, the first 2 exams, I made them only over 1 chapter each, because I want us to ease into it. We need to sort of build up to the pace of being able to do 2 chapters in a week. Again, this is really hard to do in 8 weeks when it's already hard in 16 weeks. So it's very intensive. The first exam will be over kinematics. We will be working on that, and I will do my best to get you prepared, but you have to find the time to do those homework problems outside of class. And you additionally need to make sure that when you're doing the homework, you're not just memorizing the problems. Okay, that's a real danger, especially when we have such a fast pace, because your temptation is going to be to read the solutions and make sure you understand the solutions. That is not the same as being able to do the problems on your own. It's better for you to try the problem and make mistakes, and then look at the solution and see what your mistakes are, than to just memorize the solution. Because when you memorize the solution, it makes you feel like you understand it, but you actually don't. And if I just this tiniest little change, this sort of short-term memory things are not firing, and you sit there thinking, God, I remember this is like this problem, but you won't know how to do it. So I'm urging you, please, please, please do not memorize the solutions, because this is not that kind of class. This is a class about practice. So it's like you're in a you're taking music lessons, and you're going to have a recital, and you have to practice every day to do well in the recital. You can't just watch YouTube videos of someone else practicing and say, oh, okay, I kind of get it. I see how she plays that. You have to sit down and get the instrument in your own hands and do it. And that's how the homework is. You really have to do it. I would strongly encourage you to not look at the solution at all until you've completed the problem, and then only then look at the solution. Okay, the next week we're going to do chapter 3 in the first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday I am going to begin chapter 4, but chapter 4 will not appear on this contest. So that's kind of for 2 reasons. One, I have to use all the available time, but 2, I like this better than the first week, because if you finish the chapter 3 homework you realize you're struggling with it, then you can meet with me after class on Thursday and get help with any questions you still have. That gives you a sort of extra day to prepare for chapter 3 after I complete teaching chapter 3. The downside, of course, is I have to teach you new stuff. And your brain doesn't want to know about new stuff until you took that test. But that's how we have to do it. I try to stick with that format so that we have kind of a buffer day in between finishing. So we finish chapter 5, we have a buffer day where we learn some new material, and then we have the exam that covers chapters 4 and 5. Same thing here in the middle. We finish chapter 7, we have a buffer day to learn about chapter 8, and then we have our exam. So I tried to keep that trend going through the rest of the schedule to give you a little bit of extra time to prepare and to ask questions if necessary, because I really hate that in this first week I'm going to finish chapter 2 and that you may not be live for the lecture, you may not watch that lecture until the night, and then have to the next morning without being able to ask me questions, you have to take an exam. So the first week, I think in particular, is going to be extra tough. Okay, so that's what the schedule looks like. Exams are on Fridays, and then our final exam is on a Sunday at 2 p.m., and that is the official last day of the semester, and it's really the only way I could schedule a final and also get in all of the material that we needed to get in. I do have on July 30th a day that's called the catch-up/study day. The catch-up is if we do for some reason get off schedule a little bit, then we have an extra day to kind of fill in and get back on schedule. We can shift everything down. And if we don't get off schedule, which I hope we don't, then this will just be a free day for you to study, get yourself ready for the contest on chapter 15 and 16, and maybe even prepare a little bit for the final. All right, that is the schedule. Are there any questions about the schedule? Okay, no questions about the schedule. So let me show you, once I can open it up, the homework schedule. Okay, so here's the homework schedule. Let me try to zoom it a little bit. Hopefully, come on. Okay, hopefully you can see that well enough. So basically, I have the same schedule on the left, that sort of wide column, and then on the right we have 2 columns that give you homework problems in the 2 problem books. So the Shams College Physics, which you will have in either 11th or 12th edition, is is right here, and then the 3000 Worked Problems book is here. And so these are the days that you should attempt those problems. So this is not like due dates. Think of this as after, there's no homework after today's lecture. If you want to get started early, that's fine with me, but you shouldn't really know how to do any homework after today's lecture. But after tomorrow's lecture, you should be able to attempt these problems in these 2 columns. After the Wednesday lecture, then you have this, and then after the Thursday lecture, I really only have a couple more problems for you to work on. So you will have done the lion's share of the work before that, and 3 more problems, and then our exam comes. And generally, when possible, I try to, not to assign much homework on the day before the exam, because I want you to, be able to study. Although, of course, the homework is your best study tool. Okay, and then a couple of other things to point out. over toward the end of the semester, there in our thermodynamics chapter, there are not enough problems that I like in our books. So I added some, or I will add some supplemental problems. So when we get close to that, I'll point that out on Blackboard. But those are the only problems that are not coming from our textbook. Will be a separate assignment that I post on Blackboard. And then the last couple of days here, you're just studying. So as I said, the homework is really just, it's for you to practice. Those problems are a guide, are what I think you need to do to be successful. Some of those problems with very minor changes, like it may be, you know, a student is chasing a school bus in the problem in the book, but I decided because, you know, we have a student who's wants to be a vet, I may make it a you know, wolf chasing a rabbit or something. Or maybe I won't make it. Maybe I'll make it, I don't know. Anyway, it will look a little different. Like the flavor text will be different, but the strategy and the equations and what you do, the problem will be the same. Okay. So you should do all those problems, and if you do, that's what I think a typical student needs to do to be pass the test, but to do excellent work on the test. Okay. However, if you're doing them and finding you need to look at the solutions a lot, then you may need to do more problems. Okay. Your goal is to be able to do some problems without looking at the solutions. So that's something you'll have to judge for yourself. And I'm happy to help you judge that if you want to meet and collaborate and show me what you're doing. If you send me questions in email, you can do that as well. But you know, if you do that, please take a picture of your work and show it to me, send it to me so that I can see what you're doing and what you're thinking. I can help you more easily that way. But you know, having access to collaborate should really help as well. And you can send me pictures, and then we can meet and collaborate, and I can put your image up and I can write on it in front of you and show you like what's wrong with it or what you need, you know, what's right, what you need to do differently. So like I said, this summer, this is the only thing I have going on, so it will not be a burden to me at all to meet you and collaborate and help you. I really want everyone in this class to be successful. So, you know, do the work, contact me, go over questions and problems, and if you get things moving in the right direction at the beginning of the semester, I think things will go much more smoothly, you know, going down the road. So don't struggle for a couple of weeks and then ask me for help. If you're struggling in the first week, ask me for help right away, and I can get you moving in the right direction. Okay, does anyone have any questions about any of that? That concludes all of the administrative details about the class. Okay, so what we're going to do, oh, I think I saw, is that a hand?
It was me. Yeah, I did have some questions I wrote down kind of as you were like saying stuff. So when we're taking our exams on Respondus, because I've used Respondus before, but I've never done it like for a class where I have to show my work. Do we get like a piece of scratch paper, or do we have access to like write somehow on that, or how does that work? No,
you're going to have to just have some blank paper in front of you, and then you work on the blank paper, and at the end you're going to, that's when you can take pics of your work and submit it on Blackboard. Yeah, I haven't used Respondus before either, so I'm guessing I'm not sure. I'm gonna before the first exam, I'm gonna make like a sample one and put it on Blackboard and let everyone test it out and make sure that their technology works with it. So we'll see then. But that's my plan, is for you to take pictures of your work. If Respondus won't let you do that, you may have to submit a blank document and then upload with. I'll give you some time interval. You have to take pictures and upload your work. But basically, you will do your work on blank paper, and then you'll send me pictures. I will put them on my computer. I'll mark them up with my comments, and then I'll send them back to you with a grade.
Okay, perfect. And then my second question was, when we're doing, like, you recommended if we want to try like extra problems, just ones from like the chapters that you've selected us to do, or you know what I mean? Are some better than others? Should we look somewhere else?
What I would say, there's two things I would suggest. One is that I would probably look for more problems in the college physics book instead of the 3,000 problems book, because those are all guaranteed to be sort of calculus free, whereas the 3,000 problems book has some calc-based problems which you may look at and go, it may not be possible for you to do. And secondly, in the college physics book, at the end of each chapter, there are what's called supplemental problems. Those are problems that do not show you the solution, but do give you the answer. And so those are pretty good to practice, to test yourself, because then you can see, like, can I do it without the solution? But they're very similar to the ones that you already did. I would definitely look for problems that look similar to problems you've been doing, just to test yourself, and that will make sure that you weren't using the solutions too much.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I had a question in chat from Ziad, and it says, is it too late to do the extra credit assignment? So the introduce yourself video on Blackboard, that is actually due at 11:59 p.m. Tuesday. So as long as you get it in before 11:59 Tuesday, tomorrow, you get the extra credit, but you still have to do it before you can take a test. So you don't want to do it on Wednesday and not extra credit. Do it before Tuesday at midnight, or whatever, 11:59. Any other questions? Okay, now my practice in face-to-face classes, and I'm doing the same thing online, is to, after roughly an hour, I like to take a break, because you need to get up, you need to stretch, you need to get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever. I need to do that stuff too. So I just don't want your brain to melt from too much solid hitting you with physics. So what we're going to do is we're going to take about a 5-minute break, and the recording, help me remember to start it again when we come back if I don't do that. And then we're going to start talking about physics, what exactly physics is, and what we can expect to be learning about this semester. Okay, so I'll see you guys back in about 5 minutes. Stopping the recording.